First of all, we need to start defend differently. We need to protect the critical passage. What is this critical passage, you might ask? Let's remember the story of Leonidas and the 300 Spartans that fought against the huge Persian army. And their strategic was catching the Persians off guard and on a very narrow passage that's called the Thermopylae Gate. And there they tried to do their best. Of course, they lost the battle because they were only 300 soldiers, but they tried, and their strategy was smart. We can learn about it a lot. So we need to protect the critical passage. If you want to understand what is this critical passage, of course, you can come to the Simdal booth, and we'll explain everything for you. We need laser-focused automatic countermeasures in order to prevent those fast and sophisticated attacks. We need to start design our technology differently. Enough is enough. How you can design a product without security in mind. It's not an option, it's mandatory. We need in every type of technology to be implemented with security by design. By design. And if we will not make it by design, all of those predictions will come true. We need to start view differently the attacks. We need to give more credit for the attackers. We need to respect the attackers. And by respecting and understanding your enemy, and even maybe becoming your enemy, like Sun Tzu said, maybe we can try and understand how we can prevent those attacks. Not only that, we need to start using disruptive perspective and sight. Different type of defense systems, different type of view. We need to detect malicious intent before it becomes a threat. We need to understand the psychology behind those attacks. Not only the technical aspects and how they become true in your environment, but how to prevent them in their psychology and understand them thoroughly. So our vision in Simdal Technology is to provide a transparent and effortless cybersecurity user experience and to be implemented in each smart device all over the world, whether they're smartphones, servers, airplanes, whatever, by design. If you want to become our partners and you want to be part of a real, authentic revolution, talk to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ariel. Thank you very much. Now, let's hear from Dana Torrent. She's the director. She's head of National Incident Management Center, CERT Israel. Please welcome Dana.
So, hi everyone. Reut and I use the same motives, so it's probably true. Cyber threats. I can talk about this for days, but too bad I only have 15 minutes. So, what does the future hold for us? Oh my God, it's frightening. So I want to share with you some of my personal and my organization main fears. In the next few years, all the threats that we know so well will be escalated into very intricate, sophisticated, and complex threats. That will be our future, like now, but worse. The expansion of the cybercrime is faster than ever, and in the next few years, it will be bolder and more difficult to detect and defend against. A trend that is on the rise is the collaboration between cyber criminals and state-sponsored actors. This ecosystem is and will be very dangerous because it combines access to wealth of resources, sometimes even unlimited, and talents who are motivated by profit and money. By the end of 2027, cybercrime will cost the world more than $23 trillion per year. Speaking of cybercrime, the high profile of ransom attacks have become mainstream with the thriving market of the ransom as a service. In 2022, we had NVIDIA, Cisco, Toyota, Optus, who suffered from ransom attacks. It can happen to the very best, and we can only wait to see what the next few years will bring. By the end of 2031, ransom will cost the world $265 billion. Artificial intelligence is playing a great role in cyber threats because it can be used to make more sophisticated phishing attacks, infiltrate networks by using algorithms, and identify patterns in computer systems in order to find vulnerabilities. Phishing emails, for example, that have been generated by artificial intelligence are more reliable and have higher rates of being opened than manually crafted ones. We are going to see an increase in the supply chain attacks, meaning attacks which are carried out through service providers. While many organizations invest a lot on cybersecurity, their assets also accessible through their service providers, and sometimes in a non-secure way, or at least not enough. And even the strongest chain is as strong as its weakest link. Speaking of suppliers, we are going to see more open source software attacks in which the threat actors slip malicious code into trusted pieces of software. As we all know, developers usually do not analyze and validate the open source code before using it. And this is a fertile ground to attackers. Software vulnerabilities will continue to be exploited. Some of organizations close critical vulnerabilities as soon as possible, while others don't know they are exposed, don't understand the emergency, cannot afford the downtime, or decide to take the risk. Although we saw thousands of attacks that exploited critical and well-known vulnerabilities, we have a huge number of organizations that didn't close it yet. So we will continue to see exploitation of the proxy logon and proxy shell vulnerabilities, which allow the server to be taken over. And we will continue to see exploitation of the SSL VPN vulnerabilities, which enable remote access control. And we will continue to see exploitation of the Log4j vulnerability, which allows attackers to easily take full control over the vulnerable systems without having to go through the security stage. Today, there are almost 7 billion smartphone users around the world, meaning almost 87% of the world population owns a smartphone. Mobile are becoming a big challenge to the mobile security industry, and it will only get worse. We are going to see more attacks that take advantage of the 5G technology in order to steal more data in a shorter period of time. And also attacks which exploit mobile device management solutions in order to gain control over all the systems managed by that device. Today, the average person uses 36 cloud-based services every single day, and 73% of businesses utilize cloud-based applications or infrastructures. The rapid process comes with cybersecurity risks that will be very productive to attackers, and we see it on a daily basis. We are going to see an increase in attackers leverage poorly configured security, insufficient monitoring, and improper error handling. We will see an increase in exploitation of insecure APIs in order to access the organization's data, and so on. We are going to see attacks that take advantage of the connectivity between IT, OT, and IoT. According to Gartner, the forecast is that by the end of 2025, attackers will plant damage in OT environments in order to harm human life, meaning the focus will shift from business disruption to harm. Also, the increasing use of mobile, especially 5G, to remotely connect and monitor everything from energy grids and automated factories to smart cities and transportation systems increase the risk and the potential damage that an attack can cause. Attackers will continue to look for opportunities in essential state infrastructures as the doomsday weapon. We saw, for example, the attack against the Cologne Line pipeline in May 21, which was the largest cyber attack on oil infrastructure in the United States history. The significant increase in autonomous vehicles pose a big threat to drivers and manufacturers. The autonomous vehicles are configured with approximately 100 million lines of code, which are stored in an electronic control unit, the ECU. This component manages and controls all parts of the cars, including brakes, sensors, airbags, and more. Hackers can carry out traditional attacks like gain access to the car through USB or Bluetooth channels like navigation console, wireless, or monitoring systems. They can also carry out ransom attack, IoT attack, botnet armies, and vehicle theft. So I would like to conclude by having you look again at all those threats. And I want you to understand that cybersecurity is a challenge that almost every person and organization has to deal with. And this is not the responsibility of the security team alone, but of the entire organization. In order to succeed, it must be part of the organizational climate, and it's better safe than sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dana. Now we're going to move to our first panel of the day. Let me invite Gili, Yorai, Ronen, and Idan come over. One, two, three. We have it. Panel members, are you here? I guess let's see. Gilly Klein, Yorai Feinmesser, Yoren Lago, Idan Weiner. Panel members, please. Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome everybody at the audience. These are very interesting times, to say the least, in the tech industry. financial storms around the world, inflation, downsizing, whatnot. And here in Israel, needless to say, it's very interesting as well. So there's a lot to talk about. So let's start by please introduce yourselves. We'll go from here to there, and we'll start.
So hi everyone, Idan Winner, CEO and co-founder of Illustria, open source security company, and also entrepreneur in residence in ICI Fund. Happy to be here.
Hi, very excited to be here. My name is Gili Elking. I'm the co-founding general partner of ICI Fund. It's a US-based fund investing in pre-seed companies, only in Israeli companies, and mainly in great entrepreneurs. And happy to be here with Idan, entrepreneur in residence in ICI Fund.
Hi, Yorai Feinmesser, Disruptive AI, general partner. We're investing in early stage startups, taking AI as the main focus for that. Before that, sharing with you that I served in the IDF, A200, mainly in the cyber area, but also in the AI unit, which I've established, and we'll discuss it later.
Sure.
Hi everyone, my name is Ronen Lago. 20 plus years in cyber domain. I've established as an entrepreneur more than 8 startups in cybersecurity. In my previous role, I was the CTO for Lockheed Martin, leading all of the security and technology capability for the federal government. Later, I was the head of security for Mercedes in Stuttgart. Today, I'm a board member in a few startups. I'm happy to be here today.
Very well. Thank you, everybody. Gili, let me start with you. How bad was 22 and the beginning of 23, and what's the direction, what's the trend?
Okay, so I can talk about fundraising in 22 and 23, beginning of 23. So as I said before, we invest in pre-seed companies, and these companies are always looking to raise new money. So indeed, towards the end of 2022, we did hear people say there is uncertainty in the market. We need to make sure we are liquidate, and we do not know when to invest, how to invest, and where to invest. So people were felt uncertain and kept their money. So we saw decrease in investments, of course. Now things are changing, and people and VCs tend to invest more. So we as a VC, since we held some money back at the end of 2022, we are now looking to deploy more money. So I think things are moving faster now. Our companies were not influenced by the inflation prior to everything that happened, and are not influenced now by the market bust, mainly because they are selling real solutions in real industries, and their valuations are always tied to their revenues. So we encourage entrepreneurs not to ask for very high valuations, and always tie their valuations to the revenues, to their business, and focus always on business. So even during the inflation, our companies were not influenced, and their valuations were reasonable and tied to their real revenues. And because of that, they are now successful in raising subsequent rounds, and we don't see the influence of the bust.
Oh, really? That's encouraging. Yorai, another VC perspective here?
So I do agree with the thing that if you bring a true value and you are in early stage, so you're looking for a longer term, I believe you can cross the crisis, across the global crisis. You're going to have some difficult times, so you need to make sure that you're backed up with the right funds, with the right investors that are always capable to back you along the way, and this is very important. But what we get to see is that deals take more time. So when you look at the performance, you can always see that we are late behind in all companies, I'm sure of that, but you have to make sure that you keep growing. So it's a little bit like a gum, you know, it's more elastic, it takes more time, but you have to see that the company are still growing in the right pace. But I do think that some of the companies will not get their funds this year. We didn't see it last year because they were all full with the tank full, you know. So only this year we're going to see those that already are running on the
We're going to go
shortage.
a little bit deeper later on the difference in approaches, but I want to ask you, Ronen, it was the perception was that cybersecurity is somewhat immune because we will always need this. Is it true from your perspective?
Yes and no. The problem with cybersecurity, yes, you always need cyber. It's a great thing to have, but in cyber, the model, we call it RO fear. You buy things because you're afraid that something will happen, but due to the crises in the economic and all the other stuff, companies starting to think like any other business unit about ROI, return of their investments, and can we cut our things and where we can do a shortcuts. So I think cybersecurity was definitely some of the areas that got hit because of it, because people look for new business growth, new opportunities, new stuff for their business. Sometimes cyber helped them to get into the new business, so this was the good side. But I definitely, we see that a lot of companies get hurt due to this perspective, and most of them today are trying to find how they can save money to the organization, how with automation and AI they can reduce some of the costs, so to make to the organization much more cost effective to still invest in cyber, but on the other end to reduce some of their internal expenses.
So, Idan, there's a change of focus now?
Yes, so also from the perspective of selling to companies, we feel like they take more time, as you mentioned here, and also they want to pay less. So we need to show more ROIs and show our value. And it seems like also from the company's perspective, they have less effort to take those products and check them. So we need to really show value in very short time. And also from the budget point of view, it feels like they have not enough money to pay, but we also need to be, as a startup, we need to be, you know, change with the climate and understand, you know, it's...
For example, how old is your company?
1.5 years, so we're pretty...
So, have you ever needed to think about downsizing, firing, efficiency in the past year and a half?
So yeah, I mean, I'm doing all the marketing, all the sales. We need to cut budgets. We have a lot of contractors. We need to save some potatoes for the long winter because it's going to be long and we don't know how much it's going to last. And I think also it feels like maybe companies startups that tried to raise funds 10 years ago. We need to show value, show our value, and by that, after that, we can raise funds. So it feels like 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, Gili, from investors' point of view, what are they looking for now? More efficiency, or more value, or looking ahead?
So since we invest in Presid, we invest in people, so we are always looking for the best founders, and best founders mean a very strong team that will know how to execute, that has the grit, that will never stop no matter what, that will meet those challenges, face them and overcome them. This is what we're looking for. So the market can change, product can change, competition can change, everything can change along the way. But the team is something for us that is very important. So now we are looking, we never invested in high values. So we are keeping that approach now, especially now in this market. But we will never change it. Even if we go again to inflation and to another bubble, we will not invest in companies with inflated valuations. So we're looking, we can't talk about efficiency when we invest in 3 founders, 2 founders. It's very early on. But we look for those founders that will know how to deal with the kind of market that they are operating in right now. So very strong focus on people and people who can just face any challenge that, that they currently face in the market.
Right. But you're right. It looks like the DNA is changing. I mean, free money, hiring, go-go culture, it's changing. And how do you adapt?
So definitely, I think the first thing is that we want to see that the founders, the entrepreneurs, also taking the risk, meaning they lower their valuations because they understand that kind of VCs like us, we want to invest in great founders and great ideas, but also we have to take risks. We are risking other people's money. And we need to see that the founders really understand that, meaning that they give value. It sounds weird, right? But evaluate the money they are fund with, and take care of everything. You asked before if they had to fire or if they had to do some adjustments to cross this period. This is what we expect to see in all companies, and even when we invest in new companies, when you see that founders are coming, like with valuations of 2 years ago, it means that they are not realistic. They are not ready and not prepared to do this journey that we need them to lead. So in that case, we are very suspicious, if I might say. But I see that the culture is changing, and we see more and more as time passes. We see more and more founders that understand the situation. They want to do their ventures. Usually, they have like a big vision. It's going much further than this current crisis. So they understand they have to take the right funding, but also behave and take other decisions than maybe they used to take a year ago. And I think from the other side, you get to see more and more opportunities from my point of view. Founders that understand that they need the money and they have to change the culture and change the way they talk about their future and the way they're going to navigate and their planning, and realize it to this year and to the year after.
Yeah. Ronen, talk to us a little bit about this changing in culture and DNA of startups and technology companies.
Yes, so I think one of the biggest problems that I've seen with entrepreneurs that I'm working with, that they're kind of in love with their technology, let's call it like this, and they don't understand that there is a crisis outside. And crisis mean, again, opportunity sometimes, because most of the startups like the technology. They think it's the best technology. They think everyone will need this technology. Most of the time, they don't have the experience from the other side, what actually is needed. And it's created a gap. They develop something great that no one needs. And part of it, sometimes a crisis, creates people to not just thinking lean about salaries and benefit and things like this, but also from the product fit. We always, as a startup, looking for a pain that we want to solve. What is the customer pain? Who is the right person in the organization? How much they're going to willing to pay for this pain? And suddenly, when you have a crisis, there is a clear pain. Okay, we are in the middle of a crisis of an organization. Something is happening. And in many organizations and entrepreneurs that understand that, hey, things change. Let's now see how we can fit to this pain and how our product may help this organization to exactly this pain, and not staying with our great technology, which is amazing, but not relevant anymore sometimes. I think this is the culture change that today organization and VCs are looking for, and also as a board member is expected from companies that we are working with. How to make a lemonade from lemons, that we said, but yes, it's sometimes how to find the right product fit in a crisis. This is also part of expertise, let's call it an experience, that is totally needed today. It doesn't matter what crisis it is. It can be an internal crisis, external crisis, and I think in this area, as an Israelis, we have a benefit comparing to other entrepreneurs that we are working with around the globe, but still, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
We need to face with.
Crisis and crisis, internal, external. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on here, Idan. What Israel is within a storm now. How is this affecting your business and mood?
So it's a great question. I think you need to adapt, as Ronan said, very fast. So it can be war, it can be COVID, now it's the legal. I mean, this is why I think Israeli entrepreneurs are so special, because they can adapt very quickly.
But do you see an effect, like
Of course.
actual effect
Of course,
of
you're walking
what-
in the office and you hear the noise, and this is another thing that we need to deal with, and it's not easy. And this has some affection, but it's affect our daily job. To be honest, but I think when
people are talking about maybe moving out of Israel and stuff like that?
yes, some of them, also other companies, also founders, they take the money from Israel. My friends, other investors from the States also may not invest because of that. So we see it everywhere, and we can feel it. But we have a purpose. We need to get more clients. We need to get funding as a CEO of the company. So we try to be very focused, and also do a lot of conversation with the employees about that as well. So we try to be very tolerant with the situation.
Gilly, obviously you are dealing with investors. What do you hear?
Yes, so also going back and forth to the US every month, meeting investors, so VCs for follow-on investments in portfolio companies, but also raising second fund. So I would define the situation different in two sides. So in Israel, as all of us know, it's a feeling of uncertainty, instability, and sometimes helplessness. In the US, we hear investors say, this is not a good time to invest in Israel right now, but they do. So raising funds is always hard. It's tough. Statistics is against us. So if it's entrepreneurs, 5% likelihood of raising funds. Women in the US, less than 2% raising funds. So it's always against us, and there are always many, many excuses not to invest. But it's okay, we keep collecting those no's in order to get to the yes. So currently, the excuses are, this is not a good time to invest in Israel because of the instability. But we are but people invest first. There is a lot of money in the US, and they invest. In Israel, I'm very optimistic. I think we're going to win. I think that Israelis are very resilient, stubborn. We have no other choice. So not to give up. And it's a combination of a very strong startup nation and democracy. And I think that there is no chance it's going to go away.
You're not afraid of the long-term effect of this? That maybe something is unstable and maybe it will be unstable in the future?
So I'm thinking like an entrepreneur, so always looking forward, never looking down, and I have to cross these two mountains. So no, I don't believe it's going to affect. I think everything is going to go back to normal. That's my hope. And Startup Nation is going to continue and be strong. Money is going to be invested in Israel. We do have the best brains coming out of Israel. Market was always in the US, so Israeli companies always relocated to the US. CEOs moved, we moved the money. But now we are talking about it as a protest. Again, there is an influence, of course, uncertainty, but long term, I'm very optimistic, and this is why US people should invest in Israel.
All right, Yorai?
Let's try to make some lemonade, right? So when you look at, from a historical perspective, we are facing kind of a situation, and I know it's kind of weird that everything here is in a turbulence, and you can't know what direction it will take, but it's a strong country, and I think what we demonstrate is that we know how to talk about it, even if it's not nicely talking in office, but in many other cases you didn't see the people discussing it all over. And we are actually discussing those issues. Some of them are more extreme, and some of them are not. We're going to see at the end how it will come. But I think the process here, when you look, from above, it's a good thing that's happening here. And I believe that we are, as people, actually active in trying to influence the situation from both sides. So I believe this will also show that the people in Israel are strong and willing to move forward, even if there is a crisis. And I think this is the startup nation, in a different area. Now, when I meet most of our LPs, our funds are coming from abroad. They're all concerned because they want to be. There is enough risk in investing in a startup. You don't have to add some others, right? Some other risks. But we passed the COVID, and we are through a global crisis, and this is a local crisis, as you mentioned, as Gili mentioned. We are looking at the U.S. markets or the European markets. They are not influenced by that storm, local storm. And what I tell to my LPs and future investors is that sometimes you have to cross the ocean, and it's a stormy one. So make sure you give your money to the right team with the right ship to cross that storm. So I think, and this is where I move forward to try to explain why we are the right team and we have the right teams in the startups. So
you are prepared.
That's my lemonade.
The pitch is prepared.
Yeah.
Ronen, you have international experience, so give us your take on this also.
So I think we definitely see an impact. Okay, the impact, I think it's mainly from big organization and venture funds. They're not looking on the long term. They're saying, okay, we will stay on and hold and wait. And for many entrepreneurs, this waiting time, it's a killer. Okay, because if they didn't manage to balance their budget and make their resources and value, customers that are waiting for something for 3 months, 6 months can be a killer for many organizations. And this is kind of the impact that we are seeing. Yes, for the long term, we're all optimistic. We all believe that it will happen. We do have a lot of concerns who will survive, okay? And yes, the strong will survive. And it's great to clean up the things that are less aggressive or have their products is less appealing. But still, I think it's a very challenging time because we do see from all over. They're just waiting. Doesn't clear what they are waiting for. But this is for us as entrepreneur an issue that we need to deal with. And getting help from the investors that invest us in the beginning to help us to cross this bridge, hoping again for better days.
Yeah. You can't talk about technology these days for more than 10 minutes without AI, right? So you're right, you alluded to that. So how do you help me? I want to invest in AI. Where? How? Who?
Throw it on the air, and they will come to take it. Don't worry.
As ChatGPT, yeah.
So I think if you're looking at like good things that we can add to this lemonade, there is no lemonade without sugar. So here's the sugar. What we all got in the last year from OpenAI, ChatGPT, and those great solutions, DALI, for images and for a chat and for search engines, it's amazing. What it made actually is actually a huge jump within a year, helping all those AI ventures to have succeed with their sales. Because last year, at the end of 21, it was very hard to sell AI products. They were not believed as accurate. Nobody wanted to hear the advice of the machine, So and suddenly everybody asks for that. So I see in all startups we actually recalculated the route after this small. It's a small step for technology, but a huge step for humankind. It means that in every startup we integrated those opportunities of chat GPTs or any generative AI, and in a way that it helps the product, and now it's easier to sell. So it helps me to balance those crises that we already discussed, and suddenly there is something that shed some light into this.
Yeah, but
Shady-
everything
shady
is
area.
AI now. I'm going to
So
ask
you-
you, Idan, is this more than a buzzword? What?
Yeah, from my perspective, we're a cybersecurity company, so we are focusing more on preventing the next attack via open source. This is what my company does. But as Rai mentioned, I mean, we also want to integrate some AI infusions like ChatGPT because we see this as a new opportunity for new IP for the company. That we gather information and we use these new capabilities to harness more information, and this will make us a better company in the future. So it's not our main focus, and I think this is a buzz, but I'm going to use it as well because it's
Yeah.
important.
So, Gilly, you get these phone calls. Get me some AI. Get me some AI investment quickly.
Yeah, so we do invest only in AI that secures our future. We've been doing that for the last 5 years. AI has been there since the maybe 60s, I think, developed. But now, as you said, it's the era of AI in everything. So if you think about Netflix recommendation, that's AI, Google search, autonomous cars, chess, when you play chess with a computer, it's everywhere. So when we say we invest in AI companies, it means that we're not investing in crypto. It means that we're not doing biomed. So things that, so companies that are not looking at data.
You can combine all the buzzwords: biomed, crypto, AI. There you go.
And then do it. Yes. So it is, to answer your question, AI was there always. It's almost in everything we do. It's a great buzzword. That's why everyone is using it. It sells great. And yes, it's just everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere, yeah.
But we need to make sure that we invest in AI that does good, because there's a lot of AI that does
Yeah.
less good.
Well, then,
Yeah, no, I'm joking because 3 years ago when you go in RSA, it was a big conference that everyone was resilience. A year later, it was risk quantification. Probably this year in San Francisco, it's going to be AI. Yeah, as is mentioned here, AI is old stuff. Okay, I finished my PhD in AI 20 years ago. No one knows what I'm talking about. What's on IBM is there. When I work in Lockheed, we got a project. We need to think 10 years above, and we talk about self-healing and autonomous vehicle and stuff like this, and people look at us like we are kind of coming from the moon. And suddenly today my mom know what is ChatGPT because she saw it and she's using it. So I think it's the buzzword is there because it's become accessible to everyone. If 2 years ago we kind of demonstrate NLP and things around AI, people look at us weird, and now it looks to them something more tangible. And I think this is the main difference. And like cyber, which is a big buzzword, again, even in AI, there is a lot of areas. I think one of the key issues that we are seeing is lack of talents, especially, for example, in cybersecurity, but all of this stuff. And definitely AI can be one of the reasons to help to fight with this problem, help to fight with the challenges. It doesn't mean AI, you know, we all think it's going to do something big. Even do the basic stuff. It's going to be very helpful, and it's a new revolution. And like we used to see industry revolution and things like that, that people shift old jobs, we're definitely seeing that the high tech and entrepreneur will need to shift to new jobs, new areas, new domains, and assume AI. It's like looking in Google search, and the mindset need to be shifted. So now it's a buzz, but it's definitely a revolution.
and AI and cyber goes together
AI and
very
cyber
well.
and healthcare, everything goes together. If you have a new startup called Healthcare AI, transferring data through blockchain, you're amazing.
All right. Lady and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Stay tuned. We have another panel discussion coming up. Daphna Yanin, Gabi Marom, Doron Amir, if you are here, please come. Can we get some water here, please? Hello. They're working on the water. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, in this panel we'll discuss the most important element always, people, right? And let's start by introducing yourselves. You start.
Ladies first, yeah,
Ladies
of course.
first.
Nice to meet you. My name is Dafna Yanin. I'm the head of Outreach and Engagement Department at the Israeli National Cyber Directorate. Before that, I used to be responsible for all the trainings that the INCD conduct in-house and to the global community.
Great. Doron, we've seen you here before, but
Doron Amir, CEO of Saitaka. We promoting positive cyber around the world, doing World Cyber Championships, and of course we're talking about that more and more.
Gabi.
Hi everybody, I'm Gabi Moron. I'm the CEO partner in iHLS Code Leadership and Technology for Young Girls and Women. Before that I was at Unit A200. I was an HR recruitment specialist for cyber and technology fields and the first commander of cyber school at the unit. And today we expose little girls to programming and everything, and it's very, very nice. And I have 2 degrees, 2 dogs, 2 teenager girls, and 1 husband.
No kids yet. Okay. Daphne, let's start with you. We are seeing a major shift in human resources in the tech industry in general, obviously also in cyber. So talk to us a little bit about what's happening when we remember just recently that companies were chasing people and now maybe people are chasing companies. What's happening?
Okay, so I think that Israel, as the cyber nation, we have a lot of great human resource, especially for cyber. But we see that at this era, a lot of we see a lot of trainings and that are not actually built for we see a lot of trainings that are not stand for in one line with the challenges that
You mean training in schools or training in companies?
From childhood. From childhood, we see that there are gaps in the technology that requires that the market and all of the environment needs, and that doesn't stand with one line with the roles, requirements, and roles, paths, and especially on the cyber path.
But I know that they have now cyber departments in high school even here in Israel, but not enough.
Yes, the academic always, and we see that on education especially, that the academic is always one step back versus technology. So right now we are trying to fill that gap, but it still exists. We still feel it.
Okay, Doron, in your company and what you do, you deal with a lot of young talents, and you see what's happening, right? You have a little peek to the future.
Yeah.
So tell me about what you see.
First, I can say what Daphne want to say is true. The academic failed, by the way. The school failed about the cyber issue. And I remember before 2 years, I saw some research that say demand to 2 million, 3 million positions in the cyber. I said, whoa, it's a big numbers. How are you going to find all cyber people? It's not to put now some sign, hey, I need cyber people. Cyber people first come from creativity, not from any other aspect that we try to understand. Of course, we need knowledge. Of course, we need the academy. It's great. Yeah, as she says, it's let's say from the history of the understanding the basic. Creativity is not come from learning by formula. It's come from experience. You know, one of the reasons that in Israel has great cyber people is because the army is a huge opportunity and a great platform to touch in cyber attack, cyber defense, in spatial mechanisms, spatial cases. So, and of course we are in survive mode. Thanks for our enemy, we become empowered, not because we are training with our teacher. and our enemy, they are really good in cyber, let's say. Yeah, they are not something that we can see them as kids or to say that it's not important. But as much they try to do for us damage, we become more stronger. So in those times, what I see before I actually established this company, I see something very interesting. I say, okay, it's not true now to sell cyber education when you sell networking courses or programming. It's not true. It's just a buzzword. It's just advertising. It's a marketing issue. It's not true. And I say, okay, what we can do? There is a huge market of programmers. Programmers, by the way, is a gray area. Because if you ask programmer, can you please write a driver for printer? Can you please write to me some protocol to move a message from your scanner? You say yes. But if you pay attention, it actually has inside cyber abilities because it can listen to printer, it can listen to scanner. So hey, if I take some programmer and give him tuning and say, look, with yours, you are good enough, okay? It's a basic requirements. Now I can take you from this area and start to create some new creature that I think I was the first to say that. It's a cyber programmer. So, okay, I'm not gonna fix all the problems in the world. I'm not going to create hackers, but I can convert programmers to cyber programmers. Now, what is cyber programmers? It gives you answer to your, let's say, great questions about the solution. The solution is that if we have programmers that build in the apps, now start to deal with AI, yeah, it's a big issue, it's not make sense that they don't understand even cyber awareness. It's like to build a building with open doors. It's not make sense. You have building, you need the doors to close and with lock and everything. So the next generation of programmers, they have to know cybers as a cyber awareness at least. Then you get more safety products. And then the spatial people, that the hackers, and this is not easy to find them, but they have now only the mission to fix little numbers of bugs or problems in cybersecurity. They don't need now to do all the job because it's a time issue. And if you get now, let's say, some program that there's a lot of problems, is take a lot of time to fix it. So what I answer to you is that the programmers, this is the solution, to give them...
Who's going to be the one, who's responsible to take those programmers and put them in the right direction?
So in our platform, that's what we did, and we hope that others do that. You know, sometimes when an entrepreneur do something, he's very scary that someone will copy him. I wish that all of the world start to copy me. What we did is put special challenges, like I explained to you about the scanner and the printer, and I give the programmer missions that they are building for programmers, so he understands the code, he understands the environment, but the mission is with cyber volume. So those people that start to touch it, something amazing happen. Because they understand now suddenly that they know cyber, something in cyber. They got feedback, like kids. You say to them, you are smart. You become to be smart. So those people, what happened with them, they start to do the convert because personal issue. Salary, the cyber people earn more money. Maybe it's more, I don't know, more good to say to the mother of the girlfriend and so on that you are in the cyber, so maybe it's helped to something. It sounds better, that's what I say. So we have great motivation, and the world needed, there's a big demand, to take these 100 million programmers around the world as professional market, this number I say to you, and to start to move them to the next generation. If we will not do that, we will be in big problem because it's impossible to create millions of people as a cyber experts. We need someone that maintains the code. And of course, the AI that we're talking so much is not a solution. AI is take us to the next stage. Let's not take serious the Elon Musk and all the paranoid because anyway, it's going to happen. Yeah. The question is who going to maintain the AI?
We'll talk about the AI later.
So you got the answer about our platform, give the programmers tools to...
And I want to ask Gabi, so what age should we start with this?
It's an excellent question. I believe that the age of 9 is the better age to learn computer science and start coding. When I was at the Army and I was recruited the people for do the cyber things in the Army, I met a lot of girls who were excellent students, got A's at all the subjects, but they learned exactly what the teacher told them. And when I asked them about something else, they didn't know. They were educated to fit in rules and do something as we asked them. So they get A's and they didn't look at the side. If we want to have more programmers that can do something better, we have to do it from little age. We have to educate them that they can
be more creative, like Doron said.
They can do everything. In the age of 9, they start to create their own programmer, own projects, and present it to all of the people, and see role models that can do everything they want, and then the crisis will be less, because today we don't pay attention that women are missing in the cyber. That there are only 13% women in the cyber.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but also men are missing in the cyber. That's the problem. Age of 9, did they hear about it in the school system?
The school system do what they can to do. We decided to open a non-profit organization that takes girls and teach them all of that. And in the age of 15, they become in engineering. And they can go and they work at the startup and do things before Army. So when they go to the Army, they will be in a high level and they can do everything in the cyber and be after it the manager, not just a hands-on in the cyber.
Daphna, maybe the government can do more in this direction. What do you think?
Okay, so the government has a huge department of 3 people that responsible for yes, that responsible for all of the paths, and we are doing all sorts of the engagement with groups like Alice Code and things, all of the communication with groups like that. But we have a major, by being a country, by being the government, we can't give effort. We can put the effort where it's missing, but we are seeing that the problem starts level from childhood, and we are doing a lot of cooperations. I think that's the right term, with all sorts of organizations, but we have our limits, and I think that the solution needs to come from the educational offices, from schools to kindergarten, and we are doing a lot of awareness trainings. And I think that the problem should come from that area. We need to educate the parents to send their kids to that direction, to that paths, and that's a little harder to educate the older people to
Right. Well, it used to be that the Jewish mother wanted her child to be either a lawyer or an accountant. Then
or a
it
doctor
changed.
or
Yeah,
a pilot.
Now it's high tech. Yeah, Doran, why are some little number of women in cyber and technology as a whole? Why is that?
You talk about winners, you say?
Women.
Oh, women.
Yeah.
All the time see win, win, win. Wow, I have so much things to say about that. First, I want to say something about the subject you talk. Children need to do fun. Leave leave the cyber for a moment. I will do that in nice way.
We combine.
Fun, stupid things, to go to the school, to joke with friends is healthy. But let's start to deal with something more strong. When I see the issue with gender, okay, women, boys, and I want to start to understand what happened because I feel it in our competitions. I see less than 10%. It's a very small number. 50 competitors is 5 women, that's all. So, and I understand that there is more deep than what I can say. When you're a child, and I have daughters, of course, and you see what they're dealing with. They're not dealing like the boys, for example, with football, soccer, all those sports that it's with more competitions mode. And this is the basic of the result that we see outside. They have no built-in confidence to compete. It's not true about all the women, of course. But if we took huge number, you see this problem. They are very smart. They are more smart than other boys, but not compete. This is something psychology that we have problem, as I don't think as a nation, I think it's as a global. Now, for example, to promote, and we of course dealing with philanthropics and good things to others, especially in Israel. We go to Kiryat Shmona, and we did competitions, and come, and we call, of course, to others cities in the north, and come to us from Bukata, the Druzi community, and come from us from religious people, and of course all the others. And I see that this is a huge opportunity. In this competition was 20 women. It was amazing. I said, all the women that dare to compete on cyber, under camera of course, come here to the stage, we give them medal, prizes, and I was so happy. For me, was the winning of this evening. And by these things that we do, and we start to, of course, Alice Miller did the first breakthrough, yeah, with the pilot issue, of course. But we have a lot of job about education. So about the cyber and what you ask, I'm immediately answer to you. But first, I think we need to fix the issue with women and to compete, to be number
Right.
one.
So let me ask Gabi about this. Obviously,
Yeah.
Doron comes from the competitive world, so you see, what about competitiveness with girls that you are dealing
Yes,
with?
I agree with Doron about the competition. In Alice Code, from age of 9, they start to compete in international competitions and give their project and stand for it and explain everything. And I want to go back to the educational system. When all the textbooks, the main characters are males. They're active, they're playing, they're doing things outside, while the females are at home, do something small, don't going to do something big. And this is the first thing that we have to change. Another thing is that the girls are very shy and trying to be at the boundaries. And when we give them the opportunity to think other ways, they start to do great things. So,
Even Israeli girls?
even Israeli, and I invite you to come and to see our Alice Code girls, which are amazing and do great things. Nowadays we have a boot camp of Pesach. It's called Osot Kef BePesach. Fun, fun, fun. That's our main thing. So after it's fun, you want to do it more. And when you're doing it more, you're doing it better. And when we are better, we come to cyber. So everything is going up. And I believe that the government can do everything. I believe that we have strong companies, high-tech companies here in Israel, which can combine together.
You have cooperation from
Combine together
private companies?
and said, let us take this to our concern and trust and try to, and not try, and succeed in this thing. And let's go and teach the children in this early age and do this.
I want to add something about the results of that lack. When we are trying to recruit people, we see that there are things that may block women from entering the cyber field at the beginning. There are two main things. The first one is the lack of the misleading thought about the military experience, and the second one is the misleading thought that you must have a technical degree in cyber science or things like that. Women tend to, women will not send their CVs to a position that they are not fully stands for the requirement, while men will do that, even if they're standing only for 60% or 70% of the requirements. And that's one of the things that may block women from entering that field from the beginning. And another one is that we are hearing and seeing a lot of men on stages, a lot of men on as an interviewer, not from the HR, but as senior positions. And that may make women less, with less confident than men.
Right. Doron, with your experience in other countries, also some countries that women's rights are not really, how to put it, I'm trying to put it mildly, they're not big on this. So there's even less chance for women to get into technology?
Okay, first we need to understand what's beautiful in cyber. We say cyber, and sometimes it's become only buzzword, and we're not understanding very well how much it's create interest that delete all the weird things that our perception put about these subjects. For example, in Arab countries, that my perception was that the women's rights is not as we understood, yeah? Different approach. Let's let them to manage their life. But I saw great professional women dealing with high level of challenges. We have small, we have high, and so on. And it surprised me. And I say, why did it surprise you? Because they come with all the, all the suit. And we think that this figure only do lafa, only do hummus. It's a big mistake by our perception that, by the way, it's come from the movies, come from cultures that we see and so on. So even Hollywood do a lot of mistake about this figure.
So it's not like it looks from
And I want
the outside.
to complete the answer by to explain to you another things. Because the cyber is essential things, it's something that all of us need, have to. So the brain is the issue. If you are smart, and smart in cyber, I mean, yeah, we need you. I don't care that you are from Israel. I don't care that you are from Pakistan. I don't care where are you from. And if you are woman, man, in the middle, just do the mission. I have to save the country. I want modern life. And if something, broke in cyber is a life issue. So this is the answer for you. The gender is only psychology. All the people have the opportunity, even in the countries that we think that the perception about the women's rights, that we can argue about that, the cyber is outside, is exception.
But by the way, you mentioned before AI. Does AI have a gender?
Of course, women rights all the time. Yeah, don't ask this question.
So is this going to solve everything?
I think that research shows that everyone teaches better when the teacher is a woman, even boys and even girls. So AI must be a woman.
Must. All right.
No, I'm the media. I cannot give other option. Yes.
Daphna, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the workforce these days. Major shift, as we said before. Maybe less demand for people as comparing to before. So what's happening now? What's your forecast for the near future?
Okay, so 2022 was a bad year for the stocks market. So all of the companies had to fire people. Or stop recruitments, and lately we're hearing that even Microsoft, that I think from all the FANG stocks was she's not FANG, but from all the corporates, she was the last one that still recruit and hasn't fired. Even Microsoft fired people lately. I think that the AI will eventually replace a lot of people, but for now, I think that along with the challenges that it brings, it will bring us a lot of opportunities for prompt engineers, and I think that we will find out that the market will open again. I forecast about 1 year, because that year is going to be a recovery year.
Still a tough one, yeah.
A recovery year, and after that, I truly believe that the market will rise up and recruit again, and companies will grow, and startup will have their funding again, and the cycle will go on.
But Doran, still things are changing. Also, the business environment, the financial environment.
If you talk about the AI, it's amazing. It's actually not only amazing as someone that want to say that is good. You pay attention for your job. In the past, you write about your hand, yeah? You write, okay, and then it's not true, and you need to delete, and it's not easy. Today, you use computers. So, of course, for you, the internet, Google, the computer, internet, give you huge advance, and you can do a greater job and to do something more interesting and so on. So the AI, what I want to say, it's an amazing tool for acceleration. Look how much they're smart. They put the chat GPT first, where? About chat. Only ask question about your vacation. It's not critical. Let us to practice the machine. And then the doctors in the next vibe, let's say the generation, you see, put professional consulting with these machines. So the humanity now jump. We now evidence to jumping, like the print, like other things, electricity, internet. Now the AI is the big jump. That's what I say. So all the others that talk about against AI, they just old school. They not understand. It has to be. So and it's going to create a lot of jobs. I want to explain something. A lot of people come to me and say, oh, now a lot of people fire out because the AI. No. It's like the Apple, you know, Steve Jobs, blessing him, give us the apps give the apps developers. It's a huge market of workers. So the AI going to create a lot of AI developers, AI engineers. So it's amazing opportunity. Thanks God, we have now something new after the, let's say, the internet, that it's, I think we did a lot with the internet abilities. Now the AI is a big jump. So say to Elon Musk, that he did mistake with all his buzzword and join to us.
Yeah, right. I want to ask you, Gabby, if in this environment of downsizing and maybe a little downturn in the tech industry, how does that affect what you do?
I believe that it's the best time to invest in children, because when we are looking in 10 years from now, the high tech will be in a very good position, and there will be new positions with the AI. So if we can do this thing and educate the children from nowadays, in 10 years, it will be a lot of hands-on and good programmers and cyber people.
Okay, on this happy note, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. So we'll begin shortly with our next panel, which will be innovation in the defense industry. I'm calling Gal, Eitan, Eli, Amir. Who's missing? Yeah. That's what we have. Galarari is with us. All right. Okay, looks like we can begin. In this panel, we'll focus on the growing ecosystem inside the defense industries and how these industries integrate startup companies into their ecosystem. Our panel members, please start by introducing yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eli Friedman. I'm a VP for Innovation in Elbit Systems.
Good afternoon, Eitan Eshel. I'm EVP Technology, R&D and Innovation in II, CTO of II.
Hello everybody, Amir Barael, I'm CTO of Cognite.
Hello everybody, Gal Harari, CTO of DDR&D, Minister of Defense.
So, I don't know if everybody knows, but we're talking about huge defense companies, and startups are small. So how does that work? How this ecosystem building itself? Let's start with you, Amir.
Thank you. Maybe at first we need to talk about what we mean when we are using meaning dual-use technologies. Dual-use technologies comes back about maybe 40, 50 years in which both military companies and civilian companies developed airplanes. So airplane is a good example for what dual-use technology may be. You at first develop a fighter aircraft, then you commercialize it, and at the end all the technologies come back to the fighter aircraft and enhance it. But this is good when you're talking about big projects. And the question that you correctly raised, what happens with the small startups? Then you also need to understand that we are dealing mainly with deep tech technologies, meaning you need to have patience. You need to have the ability to wait a long time. Now this sometimes contradicts the way the startup wants to work and the way that the venture capital that wants to invest in those startups are seeking for the financial return. So this is where a corporate comes in. A corporate such as Elbit, which is the biggest defense company in Israel today, has the ability to back those startups in several ways. Elbit has 18,000 employees, about 10,000 of them engineers. You will probably not find a specific experience that the startup needs that you will not find one of the employees of Elbit that already done it many times before. So when we approach startups, we give them the ability to use our engineering power for them to maybe jump ahead 2 or 3 years of development because they can rely on the corporate. So later on we will talk about some models in which how can we work with those startups. But the real answer to your question is if we only want to know about the technologies and the startup only wants to go fast, then the matching between the startup and the corporate can give the startup those capabilities and the corporate to be exposed to the technology.
Evidently, this is very successful, and we'll see why, but I want to ask you, Eitan, a huge company, IAI, okay, thousands of people, engineers, you have R&D. What do you need startups for?
Okay. Although II is a huge company with a huge portfolio and very advanced high-tech technological company, almost $5 billion a year turnover, in order to look for emerging technology and seek for a breakthrough, and we need to look also out of the box. And although every day there is a breakthrough within AI, with the technology, just yesterday we heard about the launch of the satellite, which we have all the capabilities, launch, building the satellite, building the SAR payload to the satellite and the ground station. We're still looking for outside to see whether we can find new technology in the academic with the startups. And in order to do so, what we did, we created accelerator. We call for startups to collaborate with our teams. And within working with academics, with the startup teams, we are finding a very emerging technology, very interesting one that gives us advantage in the global market. So putting them together, the discipline of AI, to expose them also to our facilities, our technological power, and give a win-win situation to those startups and to AI. And what is more important, that we are not seeking for equity, but we seek only to the technology and to get the advantage in the technology. So we do so in our traditional business lines, but also, although I explained that we have a strong advantage in the space, we open also accelerator for new space, and lots of startups with technology that might fit to the space environments can contribute to our business. So this is the structure that we work, and we decided to embrace all the ecosystem of startups, what's going on in country, but also internationally.
Yeah, we keep saying AI. This has nothing to do with AI. They just got the name before.
Israeli aerospace industry.
Israel's aircraft industries, airspace or whatever. Yeah. Amir, talk to me about the startup angle of this.
Okay, so Cognite is not a startup, but so we are, let's say, the smaller brother of the big industries. We're like 2,000 employees dealing with investigation analytics. I think it all starts with, first of all, the need. One is technology evolutions that happen, one, the changing needs for our customers. And we usually look at innovation on these both angles. Innovation can come from within, and then one of the tools is to do incubation or do a startup internally. So an example of what we did in blockchain analytics, we took a group of 20 people, and for 3 years we let them run inside the company independently until we reached product maturity and several sales, and then we absorbed that into one of the product lines. Another model for us is partnership with other vendors, with other startups, and it can be a long-term partnership, or eventually it can end up with acquisition. So I think it's all about, first of all, identifying what are the needs, and then how to address them with a clear understanding that not everything can be done internally in such a company.
So part of the skills you need is to know how to find startups. That's a new skill, right?
Exactly, yeah. And invest in it. Identify the areas. First of all, define your strategy, because it's not just any startup, but one that is aligned with your long-term strategy. And then invest in scouting, validating, and also, they say that 9 of 10 startups that you acquire may fail internally after several years. So that's a whole, let's say, logic and discipline and methodology about that also.
Right. I want to talk later about the startup angle as well, but I want to ask you, Dr. Harari, Mafat, which is Israeli Defense Ministry, basically. Talk to me about this wedding of the huge legacy industry with the startups.
Okay, so first of all, so the idea behind working with startups, I think there is a basic understanding. The entrepreneurs and the people who work in startups, they have personal gain, immediate personal gain from success of their company. Just for example, you can see the vaccination for the COVID. You had Pfizer and you had Moderna. So Moderna's value, I don't know, raised by maybe tenfold, whereas Pfizer value, I think, it increased by a few percents. So in many times, this is the key drive for innovation is from the personal gain of the startup team, and therefore they are really in the frontier of the high gain, high risk field. Whereas the defense companies or the big techs, they also have a lot of innovation within them. They have a very advanced infrastructure. They are very experienced, but they are also concerned in other levels of the product, such as maintenance, such as production. So it makes a lot of sense to bring these two parties together. But there are a lot of challenges as the DNA is rather different. So in Mafat, what we do is we are actually trying to create an ecosystem with the entrepreneurs and the startups and the big techs, and really to bridge between their capabilities, our resources, and the startups' capabilities. So this is our challenge, and we have several tools to do that, anywhere from collaborating with the CTOs here of the big techs, with the Israeli Innovation Authority, with initiatives that we create, like InnoFence, that is presented here today, and also global partners around the world that we collaborate around these areas.
Eli, talking about Elbit, we're talking about a huge company, we're talking about startups, different culture, different needs, different kind of people maybe. Where are the difficulties?
Yes, I think as mentioned before, Elbit being a very big supplier both to the IDF and around the world, it's not a secret we have huge projects. We have mega projects. Project that may be of sums of more than $1 billion for a single one. And the question is, how do you balance between the need to give support to the engineering of the project and also to give support to the startup companies that you want to work with? So we have built a very, very unique net inside of the companies in which we both have the internal entrepreneurs inside the company. And we also have those experts, meaning the science experts of the system, that we are all netted in some way in the sense that amongst other activities that we have inside the company, such as hackathons and challenges that we run inside, we are able to harness the whole activity between these nets with what happens from outside of the Elbit and what happens inside. Because when you are an entrepreneur, you will go that way in any case. Even if you are put in one project, you will always find a way in which you can find some kind of technology that comes out of the system and try to bring it in. So in the models, the agile models that we have built inside the company, we are now able to partner with other venture capitals, with other incubators that are outside of the system to bring the technology inside. The technology, as I mentioned, needs not to be a big missile. It can be something of mind-body-machine interface. This is a huge issue now. Not making you work for the computer, but rather making the system work for you. For instance, some of the startups that we are working with, one of them over here, iHLS, will produce a keyboard that talks with the operator and not the other way around. So if you take that element in a huge project, but you just bring the startup company as an interface, then the engineering inside the company will always want to bring it. The startup company will find some market in the defense area that does not harm their market outside, and it's a win-win situation. Actually, it's a win-win-win situation because the investors also from the venture capital know that the startup has the backing of a very good and big corporate inside.
So, Eitan, let me ask you, from the startup point of view, is this better than the open market, than finance, than VC, and stuff like that? Or is this an exit before they even exist? What kind of relationship is this?
Actually, the leverage that the startup taking by working with the largest aerospace industry in Israel is getting the discipline and the regulation that we need. In order to introduce a new technology in aircraft or missiles or space, it needed to be under a certain regulation of safety and some other capabilities and performance-wise, and also to fit to the need in order to keep this system and not to harm the system. So we are enable them to jump a few years ahead by maturing this technology very rapidly by putting in within our system. Second, as I said before, we are not looking for equity in those companies. We are looking for the technology and enable us emerging technology within our products. And this enabled them to have a big jump, enjoy from the strong power of technological people in IAI, from the facilities, and also being able to come up to the market later stage with the mature system. And we saw it with our experience with the accelerator that we created, that some of those companies very quickly were able to raise a huge fund that came from R&D Europe or some other venture capital due to the fact that they worked with us. Their product is part of our system. And tell you a rough number, we reach a 60% success with those programs that are under our accelerator, which is a huge, it's a very high rate of success, and success also to those startup companies.
So you compete on startups?
I didn't find any competition yet.
No, we collaborate. Eitan was my boss once, so we cooperate.
I used to be the head of military R&D.
I know that you are very competitive in this business, very competitive. Amir, what kind of specific technologies do you think are very now in need in this kind and specific kind of technologies for startups in this field of defense? Can you pinpoint what kind of technologies, what kind of fields?
It's a very broad question. I can relate to the world as we see it as Cognite. So there are communication, evolution technologies, there are infrastructure. So to give you an example, new satellite communication means new cellular technologies, 5Gs, and in the future beyond Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc. There are all kinds of cyber defense, complementing solutions that we deal with. On the other hand, there are in the AI that we worked a lot with, with the big data analytics, then all the trend of the AI is there strongly, and we're looking into it. So I would say that a lot dealing with both the big data in our sense and also the communication world.
Okay. Gal, where's the government in all of this?
So, as I said, our role is basically we can sometimes give a little push to the market to go to the directions that we need. We do this through incentives. We do this through sharing where are our gaps, as detailed as possible and as accessible to the engineers as possible, so they understand our needs. And through that, we can start and create solutions. We also have incentives. We have our own resources. Resources could be, of course, funding. They could also be data. They could also be laboratories. They could be all sorts of testing grounds and so on and so forth. So our role is to give access to these startup companies to these resources, and also through collaboration. So we make sure that we give platforms, sometimes accelerators, that help the startups to build a business plan and access to partners, they cost money. So sometimes we fund these platforms just so the startups could come and work.
All right. We'll speak later in the day about Mafat, exactly what do you do. Eli, you've mentioned the dual use, which is a big thing in your industry. What can you take from the military use and put it in the civilian market? How is it going?
Well, I think I've mentioned before, in this innovation strategy that we have built, we maybe leave it to the big companies to approach the huge technologies, as I said before, an airplane. But if we dig down to the deep technologies, let's say quantum, I believe that the defense companies will not be those who develop the specific qubit, the specific technology, but rather will be able to build a whole system, the whole engineering system that covers that quantum capabilities. Let's talk about synthetic biology, which is a huge issue all over the world. We will not have the expertise in changing DNAs for them to be some kind of memory chip. But we will be those who know how to incorporate it in our systems in order for them to have some kind of real engineering in front of them that tell them, okay, these are the processes that you need to go through. Let's talk about construction. Construction is a big, of course, market. Construction needs a lot of technology. In some areas, it is about 30 years back. Just by taking some of our expertise in computer vision and what we call air surveillance can bring a lot of energy, a lot of knowledge in those small startups that need not to go through things that we have already done in our experience in the military field. So we are not looking for a whole complete system. We are looking for elements in which we can incorporate in our bigger system. Laser is such, AI, of course, in all of the autonomous driving. We have, of course, a lot of experience in off-road driving. Most of the commercial technologies use signs and roads. We need to navigate in areas that don't have any signs. So if you take that, for instance, to the mining area, or mining sectors, then you understand that the defense capabilities of driving some kind of armored vehicle may be adapted also to areas in which you do just some kind of mining or construction. And these collaborations between those technologies are a win-win-win situation again.
So Eitan, how do you, shift the focus from what your bread and butter, which is defense and military, to the civilian use?
I relate also what Eli said before regarding the dual-use technology. We found out that lots of our technology can fit also to the civilian side. Actually, 25% of our business is civilian in the aerospace, aircraft and aviation. And you used to say the proof is in the pudding. Because we hold a huge amount of data, enable those startup companies to come up to create their AI capability above a real data that we hold, and we are a giant in that sense, in many aspects. So it's enable them to jump, as I said before, not only due to our facility and engineering capability, but due to the fact that they can reach to a huge amount of data in order to create their capability. So take example regarding health monitoring of aircraft engine and so. We have so much data that can enable create high fidelity AI algorithms and introduce this to the aviation market. Boeing, Lockheed Martin and others create a big advantage both to IAI and also to those startup companies. If I talk about medical and bioconversion, just yesterday there was a presentation of Dr. Ishai Falik from Israeli aerospace industry regarding medical technology that they can enjoy from our technology. So taking AI capability that works above radar parameters and put it above parameters from patient, and being able to detect whether it's a severe condition, some thing that you need to take action. So this is due to our capabilities in the military fields that can fit also to civilian fields.
So, Amir, this is a huge opportunity. You just need to grab one of these great technologies and make it civilian.
That's correct, and I believe that all of us are doing it to some extent. An example from our domain is we have a lot of experience and knowledge with data analytics, getting a lot of data, big data, and deriving insights, and sometimes a tool for decision making for government and law enforcement. We took the same technologies and applied that to the customs business, to the customs world. So in that segment, you have the custom officer that is trying to identify via such and such parameters what person to stop or what ship to stop, and by applying all the knowledge that we gathered from, let's say, the governmental part or the defense part, it has great value also to such a business.
Are you worried sometimes, Gal, that maybe military technologies will spill over to the civilian market?
I think that by now the equation is a bit different. The civilian market is sometimes much bigger than the defense market. You can see it in communication. You can see it with Elon Musk's new SpaceX company, for example. Even if you look, for example, in the war that is currently undergoing, sometimes partnering with Elon Musk may be more important than partnering than some European country, because it actually gives you services. So the spillover that we are currently looking is actually from the civilian to the defense, and to see how we can manipulate and create quick wins over civilian technologies. Of course, there is always the fear that some defense technologies will get to the market, but I think that these are, we were always concerned about it, and therefore we have our regulation schemes. So I think, but really today the equation changed towards the civilian. It's much more advanced. People can do a lot on their own. They can 3D print, they can design, they can manufacture overseas. They can get back advanced technologies, all from your own comfort at your home.
I want to ask you finally about cybersecurity, because this is the focus, not only, but some of the focus of this conference here. How much cybersecurity is of your concern? Let's start with you this time, Amir.
So it is a concern. First of all, we have offering also in this domain that we tailor into, let's say, very specific, very large projects. And we work with the ecosystem and with other players in the industry, in the Israeli industry. And of course, there is the aspect of not the business part, but the internal security of the company, which is, I think, it's a headache for all of us, continuous headache. And part of also my role, and of course the other people in the management of Cognite, is how to defend our secrets and the leakage or the potential leakage of information.
Eitan, are you in any way in cyber?
Yes, we have a cyber division in ELTA that enable us a solution for the enterprise and for the weapon system. And you know, nowadays most of the system is system of system. If you're vulnerable in one part, it can penetrate even to other systems. So
all you need is one door.
So yes, so we built the cyber security suite for the enterprise, for the weapon system, and each element is protected. Also, we looked on the aviation market and the vulnerability of aircraft to cyber. So build a cyber aviation, which is a daughter company that enables solution also to the aviation market and to the ships. So we look at it in a holistic approach from the enterprise to the weapon system.
All right.
And maybe I can add that everything now is connected. Everything is connected in Wi-Fi, everything is connected in all other communication aspects. And even for the autonomous driving capabilities, you need ways to think of not only the cyber protection of the computer itself, but also all the gateways that come from the RF communication. So another pillar, big pillar of this aspect of cyber protection is how do you protect those elements that are connected via some kind of communication. Elbit, as being a world leader in communication systems, also tackles this issue very, very deeply because we understand that that door that you mentioned may not be a door that comes from inside, but rather from outside communication, whether it's satellite communication or any other protocol. This, again, comes back to the same issue that the civilian part needs to deal with. Any car needs to be more safe than any other combat system is now.
Yeah.
This is, again, the convergence between technologies.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. This is it for this panel. We will take a break now. We'll be back at 2:30. We'll have more panel discussions and also the results of the startup competition. So thank you very much. See you back 2:30. Of course.
Y vengo sonriendo al sol que me bautizó, al mar mi hermanita, cógeme al vuelo. Quiero quedar niño, ver la vida soñando y siempre volar, cógeme al vuelo. Yo soy como el viento. Yo soy como el viento.
No, del otro, no voy a ir.
כן, איך עושים שלא לקחת את זה אחורה?
אי אפשר מלא כבל. זה קבוע יותר מדי כבל. too much information.
6 חשמל מספיק לך פה בשולחנות? 6 נקודות מספיק?
אחת, 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 אחת,
סגרתי, פתחתי את כל המיוטים במיקסר, רק פה הם סגורים, רק לפתוח את המיקרופון. אני לא יודע למה לקח כל כך הרבה שעות, זה מטורף.
אחת, אחת, שתיים, אחת, אחת,
איפה אתה רוצה לשאול? מה זה יאיר?
ואז מה שאתם תעשו, זה יצא ככה. אפי.
זה מספר אחד? כן, הוא בכוונה בזה.
כן, ברור שאנחנו צריכים שלום. אפי, מה האינטרנט? אין להם הוראות.
עכשיו? יאללה, קבלו. אחד לא קרוב אלינו? כן?
רגע, תגיד.
אחד, נכון? הם התחילו כבר?
קודם כל תרשמו לי מייל ראשוני, אז לראות שאנחנו מדברים אחד עם השני. שים לב, הם אומרים אין אינטרנט. לא, קודם כל הווב. יש לך אינטרנט הווב? לא, אל תיתן טייפ. אינטרנט, יש להם?
אינטרנט הם יכולים גם דרך הווי-פיי שיש פה וגם דרך הווי-פיי שיש לנו.
סייטקה 10, תן להם את זה. יש לכם סייטקה 10.
אתה יכול להתחבר לווי-פיי הזה?
שנייה, זה ה-IP של הזה?
של הווי-פיי.
זה לא, מי אמר לך? לא אמר. תן לו את זה, סייטקה 10, והסיסמה היא... לא, תהי סייטקה 10.